Good morning, everyone. Guess what? It's a new week, and in an unprecedented day, we are going to finish not one, but two of my longest running, most lengthy ongoing playthroughs in the same day. But in addition to that, we've got Phil's day off, we've got game news, we've got lots to talk about. So sit back, relax, and in just a sec, get ready for the start of a week beginning epic Level 1 podcast. Alrighty, so everyone, welcome back. It is time for the start of a brand new week here on DSPGaming. And when I mean a brand new week, I mean actual new stuff this week. Not the same games that I've been playing for anywhere from 2 to 4 months. And a lot of people are very happy about that, me included. Not to say that the games that I'm finishing today have been bad, but my goodness, they've been so lengthy that they have literally stopped me from playing new games that I've been very interested in jumping into, or continuing on playthroughs that I've wanted to play and I had no time for. So, today is a big day. It is Friday, the 29th of March, 2024. I hope that you're all doing well. I hope that you're all in good spirits. And of course, if you're not, I hope that this podcast and today's streams will turn that around for you in some way. So, wow, this is it. Actually, guys, today is the last day that I can say this. Because today, we're finishing 2 of these games, all right? A third of these games will join the regular schedule. And then after that, we're just going to focus on other style of games until we get to the point where we feel like it's ready for another RPG. I'm not playing multiple lengthy RPGs together again. I just can't. It's not possible. If I do that, it's going to kill the channel. Because it has. Just being as honest and transparent as I can be about this channel has massively declined in the last 2 months in viewership, engagement, and support because I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth so much. Now, I want you to just think about this. If I didn't do that, okay, if I hadn't focused on those 2 games so much in the last 2 weeks, and of course kept playing them over the last 2 months, we wouldn't be done with them today. We would still be playing them, likely for another 1 to 2 months. Can you imagine if I was still playing the same RPGs come like May or June? That would be insane, would it not? But again, this was a symptom of RPG overload. All these game designers and game publishers releasing their insanely lengthy RPGs within such a short window of time. The exception being Baldur's Gate 3, but I started that in December, played it through December and January, and then when February, when all these RPGs were releasing, I was still in the midst of it, right? But I mean, in such a short period of time to release the insane amount of RPGs that these game companies did is just ridiculously ludicrous. And it's funny, because when I started talking about this months ago, in January, when I suspected this would happen, everyone was like, oh, Phil, this is just a you problem, not an us problem, because you're the game streamer, and you're the one trying to play these games on stream and juggling them. It's not a big deal. All of us, we're RPG aficionados. We'll play these games. We'll turbo through them. Here we are, end of March, and we've got even people who are RPG aficionados in this chat every day saying, you know, I had to put Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on hold because I wanted to play Dragon's Dogma 2, and by the way, there's another game coming out in a week that I want to play, and there's just no way I could play them all. So I had to put that one on hold. And I was like, what did I say? This is exactly what I told you was going to happen. 100%. This was a horrible, horrible idea from these game developers to release this many games in a short period of time. And by the way, if you haven't heard, the sales numbers are reflecting this. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is actually selling less than what was expected. They thought that it was going to exceed sales numbers of previous Final Fantasy games, and it has underperformed. It's not sold as well as they had hoped. And I would guarantee you that other RPGs coming out now are going to start to see this exact same effect. Simply put, You cannot release this amount of games of the same genre within a 3-month period and expect that it's not going to cannibalize each other, and that's exactly what's happening right now. So, I'm just happy that we are at the end of the tunnel today. Tonight, and by the way, how crazy is it, and how wild is it that we are finishing the 2 longest running games on the same day? I have hair in my mouth and I can't get it out. It's bothering me. Anyway, yeah, like, how crazy. I didn't time it that way. It just happened. You know, it looks like Elden Ring's going to clock in at slightly over 140 hours, I believe. Let's see. Baldur's Gate 3, here it is. We're already at 141 hours in Baldur's Gate 3. So after the epilogue tonight, it's going to be at least 142, if not more. And Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is clocking in roughly around 64 hours. Now, arguably, out of the 2 games, I obviously played Baldur's Gate 3 a hell of a lot more, and I did almost all of the meaningful side content, right? There's a few missions that I skipped in Baldur's Gate 3, but none of them are very significant. You know, like some people are saying, oh, there was a mission to get the undead slaves of the necromancer. There was a mission where you could go to Jaheira's house and she has some reminiscing and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I get it. There's some things I skipped, but for the most part, everything meaningful that I found in the game, I did. In the case of Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, I literally had to purposefully skip stuff. There's tons of side content in that game to do. I just can't do it. I mean, it would probably be another 20 hours on the playthrough. No exaggeration. We'd be here another 2-3 weeks playing it, going around doing all the Kazuma Kiryu reminiscing and the Date side quest where he meets up with people from his past and everything. And listen, I get it. This is supposed to be the swan song for Kiryu. But again, it's just insanely bad timing. This channel is a business as well as a hobby. If it were just me sitting here playing games for fun, absolutely I would do more content in Like a Dragon. But it's not. Like a Dragon has been, no exaggeration, my least supported playthrough I have ever done. Yes, it's official. Less supported than when I played the Mass Effect Legendary Trilogy, and Mass Effect 3 had streams where, like, you know, I made $5. Actually, Like a Dragon's done less than that in some nights. Now, the thing is, I love the series. I love hanging out with you guys with late night chill streaming, and so I stayed with it so that we could hang out and have these fun times. It was basically kind of fan service continuing the game as long as I did, because a lot of people actually urged me to drop it, and I said, no, I'm not going to be like other streamers that if the game's not profitable for them, all of a sudden, they're just going to drop a game. I'm going to tough it out. I love the franchise. I want to see this game ending, you know, and by the way, I will say this, since we went into turbo mode and essentially stopped doing the side content and instead just pushed forward, the game has gotten a lot better, I feel. I actually feel like, basically focusing on the story and the party's job system and weapon leveling has actually been way more fun than kind of doing all the side stuff. The side stuff's quirky and interesting in the game, but man, when you got other stuff going on, and the fact that this playthrough's now been going on for 2 months, because it started in late January, yeah, I had to draw the line somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like really this playthrough has been fan service for like a month, while a lot of people are saying, drop it, drop it, drop it. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick to my guns. We're going to finish this game, and then we're going to have a celebration. And essentially today, guys, as happy as I am that the games are ending, I want you to know it is bittersweet, because I know a lot of you have enjoyed these games. Particularly with Baldur's Gate 3, we've got a regular audience of people who've come by to watch me play Baldur's Gate 3 every single time that I've played it, and to support those streams. And I know that now a lot of those people might not be around, and that's okay, because that's the thing with a variety channel like mine. Depending on what game I'm playing, I might attract a different audience that might not be around if I'm playing a different style of game. And here's the thing. There was a lot of people who did not attend my streams over the last 2 months. The dip in views says it all, okay? People not showing up to stream and not coming to watch the on-demand videos because these are insanely lengthy RPGs that they're not interested in. People are like, where's the horror? Where's the action? Where's the variety? There really hasn't been much, and I hear you. So what's going to happen is, after today, the celebration of completing these 2 games, we're going to say adios to the RPG crowd, perhaps, because there will still be an RPG in the rotation. I'll talk about that in a second. But we're going to probably see a whole new crowd of people who've been waiting in the wings, saying, when will these end? And they're probably going to come in. All right. In fact, I just want to kind of explain to you some of the plans that I have for what I'm going to do with the schedule soon. I think you're going to like it. So let's do the schedule segment first. Today, RPG Overload ends. On this first stream, we are finishing Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Now, you might say, wait a minute. You just said this is a game that underperforms, right? It's dragged on. You've played it as chill night streams for 2 months. Why on earth are you doing it as a day stream? Because we need the time to finish it. We essentially have to finish up the leveling of our weapons, which is going to take like 10 minutes at most. We just have to go to the vendor, level up, equip properly, figure out the end game builds, and then we just go right into the finishing story, which apparently would take around 1 to 2 hours, basically, is what I'm told. And then you know, the epilogue. And this game, Yakuza games always have very long epilogues. So I expect the epilogue will probably be like 20, 30 minutes. So we're probably going to need about 3 hours, maybe give or take a little bit less. But at least we'll give it the time it needs rather than having it on a night stream and not having enough time to finish it and being like, oh man, it's just taking too long, right? That's why. Now the thing is, technically, okay, we finished Baldur's Gate 3 back on Wednesday's daytime stream. But you might be saying, well, then what are you still doing playing it tonight? Because the game has an epilogue. And we basically did all the combat. We finished. We saved the world. But now we have to see the consequences of our actions. We have to see the repercussions that have happened to the cast because of what we chose. And that's actually what's going to happen tonight. There's a big celebration where all the characters rejoin after some time has passed. And they're all going to have different dialogues and conversations. And we're going to figure out what happened to all of them. And then the credits will roll. And we'll actually be able to say adios to one of my longest running playthroughs of all time. Game of the Year 2023. Well, for some, not for me. And I'm actually going to take the time to do like probably an abridged, probably like 20, 30 minutes video summarizing my thoughts about this game. You know, after playing a game for 140 some hours, I feel like I should give it an addendum video to just say, hey, here's my final thoughts about what was great, what was not so great, and overall, what do I think about it? So that should be fun tonight. And then that's it. RPG Overload is completed because there will only be one RPG. Well, I'll put it this way. Only one mainstream style JRPG in the mix. And it's going to be Dragon's Dogma 2. So here's my thoughts. Tomorrow, since we're done with RPG Overload, I want to start a new schedule. Now, I want to play 2 games that are completely different styles. We've already started Dragon's Dogma 2. And I want to play it again. I liked it on launch day. I mean, the graphics were the one shortcoming, but outside of that, the gameplay elements, the story, everything was interesting. And I want to jump back into the game. I'm sad that we've been having a whole week not playing this darn game. Okay? So, Dragon's Dogma 2 will resume tomorrow. And I also want to start a survival horror game called Alone in the Dark that released last week that at first I was apprehensive about, but the more I heard about it and the more that I saw people have buzz about it online, I think it's the kind of game that's right up my alley. It certainly might not be a game that it's up a lot of people's, you know, kind of game, but for me, absolutely it is. It's slow-paced survival horror with puzzle elements and creepy stuff and an interesting plot. And the plot is really where I think it's going to excel. We want a good, different kind of game right now, and I think this game is going to fill that gap of variety. And, you know, it was funny because a lot of people were saying over the last week that it's weird that that's a game that I didn't even really talk about, or, you know, and I'm like, yeah, what was I going to talk about? I'm in the midst of too many other games as it is. I'm going to start another one, right? So I think we're going to balance those two, okay? Now the question is, what do you want to see tomorrow? Do you want to see Alone in the Dark premiere on the first stream, give it 3 hours or so? Or do you want to see me continue with Dragon's Dogma 2 on the first stream and do Alone in the Dark as a late night premiere of 2 hours? I feel like, here's the thing. I feel like Alone in the Dark works as a night stream because it's kind of a creepy night vibe. But at the same time, it's a new game on my stream. And I kind of like thinking, since it's the first day I'm playing it, I should put it on the daytime stream. I'm not sure. Okay? I'm not sure about this, what to do. I got to think about it. Okay? But I want your feedback about that because I want to make a decision today on what order I'm playing the games tomorrow. All right? Then on Sunday, it's React Day. So that means we're going to have DSP versus the internet, the clip show on DSP Reacts on the day stream. And the night stream, get this, we have a selection. It's official. In fact, I'll give you guys the final results of the poll that has been running all week because there is really no reason to continue with this poll. The audience has spoken. with 487 votes cast, Bully, my original 2013 run, which actually is Bully Scholarship Edition, the HD version of it, has won the poll on DSP Throwback, garnering 48% of the vote. Almost half the people voted for one game. After that, it was Dark Souls 1 continuing, then it was BioShock 1, and then it was Mass Effect 1. So basically, people want to see Bully start, and if it's good and people like it, likely they'll want to see it continue. If it ends up not being as good as expected, probably people will want me to go back to Dark Souls 1. Okay? Now, I just want to remind you all, Retro React is a series that I started about 2 months ago. The idea was that every 2 or 3 weeks, I would do a late night stream on the channel, DSP Throwback, that I would play a classic playthrough, I would watch a classic playthrough that I had done in the past, basically for the very first time, and react to it with you guys. You guys like my React stuff, so having me react to my classic content is funny. You get to see me fail and laugh at my own mistakes, or rage at how dumb I was, or you get to see me cringe at the commentary. I mean, the Heavy Rain playthrough stands for itself. It was really, really good, and people really enjoyed it, so I'm happy that they did. And so, I was going to only do it every 2 or 3 weeks, but you guys liked it so much, you were asking me to do it every week, and people were showing up, engaging with the streams and supporting them, and I was like, whoa, well, why wouldn't I continue this as a weekly series if people are really liking it? So I kept it in the rotation for the past 6-7 weeks, and it's worked. So as long as you guys keep showing up, engaging, and supporting with those streams, I don't see a reason why I wouldn't keep doing them on Sunday nights. But if I notice now, because we finished Heavy Rain, oh my god, there's a big drop-off in interest, then we probably won't do it every week. We'll skip some weeks. We'll maybe do it every other week, every third week. It'll depend. All right? So, Sunday night, on the DSP Throwback channel, the premiere of Retro React Bully Scholarship Edition, the 2013 run where I started with my camera, and then I actually swapped over to direct capture and streaming halfway through. It's a unique playthrough because of that. I do think there's a big chunk of it that's the camera, though. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes, and I hope you guys will join me for that on Sunday night. Now, Monday, basically, again, I want to do a full day of Dragon's Dogma 2 and Alone in the Dark. And again, what order I play it, I'm not sure. It'll really be up to you guys. I guess it depends on how the games go. Like, which game do you guys like more? Maybe we'll play that as the day stream or whatever. Now, the other few things that are factoring in. Factor number 1, my wife and I want to begin a co-op game, Beyond Two Souls. We haven't done a true co-op ever. You know, we did some Q&A streams in January, and then in February, we attempted to do Dondoko Island co-op in Like a Dragon. That didn't work because the mode was so boring. After 2 sessions, we were bored to tears. So we talked about what we wanted to do next. So Beyond Two Souls is a game she's always wanted to play. She loves the Quantic Dream games, okay? She's never seen a playthrough of it. She's never done anything with it, all right? And she's wanted to, and I'm like, well, why don't we do it together? You know, you could control the main character. Maybe I'll make the decisions for the supernatural character, and we could do co-op commentary or whatever. I haven't played the game since it was new, and it was new in 2013. So it's been 11 years since I played this game, okay? I'm sure I won't be remembering half the plot, okay? So that'll be good. I think it's going to be a fun playthrough. But the question is, when am I going to start it? I don't know yet, because it's really reliant on her and her schedule and how she's feeling. You know, originally I thought maybe we'd do it Monday, and she was like, no, I really don't want to do it Monday because I'm going to be probably beat after getting home from work and everything. And I'm like, all right, well, maybe we'll do it Tuesday, Wednesday. She's like, I'll think about it. I'll let you know. So when we solidify that, when we decide exactly when she's ready to start that playthrough, we'll solidify dates. And what we might even do is try to solidify a solid schedule of it. Maybe it'll be like once a week on a late night stream, Tuesday, Wednesday, or something like that. So you guys know it'll be Tuesday night or Wednesday night co-op with Kat as we do Beyond Two Souls. Now, the game is about 10 to 12 hours long, so probably it would take about a month and a half to finish, which is good. If we're doing it once a week, it's good variety, right? It's good stuff to put into the schedule. So there's 2 other games, okay, that I want to play, and they're very different. The first game is a game that I bought a couple weeks ago and haven't been able to play it, called the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. It's a collection of Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2 that was redone and just completely crapped out at launch. It did not work. It was a laggy, buggy mess. Was I able to get matches? Yes. Was I able to play and have fun with them? No. The hit detection was so bad because it lagged so bad that you would just stand there shooting directly at someone in front of you and nothing would hit detect. So you were just spamming wildly all over the place to even try to kill someone. It was just a stupid mess and a waste of a stream and a waste of my money, you know? So apparently they have patched it, And it was actually a couple days ago on this very show. I just booted it up and it worked beautifully. And I was streaming at the time. And then I played it and it still worked online. And it was smooth and the hit detection was perfect. I was like, whoa, they have absolutely fixed it, which is great. Now, of course, the question is, did they fill it with bots? I don't know. But you know what? I want to put it into the schedule at least once. And I want to see how it plays and if it's fun. If we play it as like a night stream once and it's fun and we get people, oh man, it's actually pretty good. All right. Then maybe perhaps I would go ahead and do it. All right. But then let's say we do it once and it sucks. Well, then I'll never play it again. But at least I want to give it a shot now that apparently it is functional. Okay? Fair enough? That's number one. The other game that I'm very, very interested in bringing back basically as soon as possible is Elden Ring. And the reason is we are all hyped. The Elden Ring DLC is coming in June. Right? About mid-June, I think they said, right? It's about middle of June. I can't remember the exact date or whatever it is. But basically, I am in the midst of a second run playthrough that I began last year, and I put it on hold, essentially, when we got into new games like Street Fighter 6. Okay? And I'm excited for the returning of Elden Ring for a couple of reasons. Number one, I was really liking my Magic run, but because the Magic run was so powerful, you know, I was beating the crap out of certain bosses. Like, I fought the Lich Dragon, what's his name? Forsythisax or Sir Glamifax or whatever the hell his name is. And basically, I dominated him on like the second or third attempt. You know, originally it took a lot of tries to beat him. And that's it. I am melting certain bosses now with this Magic build, which is fun. But a lot of people are like, nah, we like to see you, suffer. And you're not suffering, so it's not fun, right? Ball Sacks? It's Lich Dragon Ball Sacks. Sorry, I misspoke there. I forgot his name. Thanks for telling me. Anyway, I want to go back to it because, number one, I got to get back into the game. I have to get back into the swing of things with Elden Ring, remember how it's played, and I have to make progress. Remember, the DLC coming out, Shadow of the Erd Tree in June, you have to have beaten Mohg's Temple of Blood, which is a really hard part of the game. And where we are right now, it's Placidusax, so it's not for 2 attacks or Battle Axe, it's for Placidusax. It's Lich Dragon Placidusax. Whatever. He's dead. It doesn't matter. All right? I fucking killed him last year. I nuked him with my Kamehameha wave. He just couldn't do shit. Anyway, so, number one, we have to get to that point. And if you remember, we still had a lot to do. We had to go back to the underground, beat that whole area, get to the big alien boss, beat that. That gets you to the magic area, the bottom left-hand corner of Eternia. And there you do all the stuff there, fighting dragons and stuff there, right? And then you got to go back to the northeast, which is the frozen giant land. We have to get through the whole frozen giant area. We have to beat the bosses there. I believe then we get to the way to get to the underground blood temple, right? And then we can beat the whole blood temple and beat Mohg, the real Mohg. And I'm really interested in how I'll do with the magic build against him, because some people are like, it's hit or miss. Like, if you get a good, lucky, setup, you can kill him almost before he transforms. Remember, he transforms in his boss fight and gets much harder. So people are like, yeah, you can nuke him with that Kamehameha, like, supercharged. And if you hit him once or twice in a row, you can stop him before he even transforms. And then the fight's really easy. So it's an easy way to cheese him, but I don't know if I'll be able to do it, right? If he gets to that second form, I don't know how it's going to be to beat him, especially with my current magic build that I was using last year. But, so number one, all right, I have to get to the point where the DLC is, or I won't be able to play the DLC when it releases, right? And that's hours of gameplay. Like I said, all the stuff I just described likely is a good 15 to 20 hours of gameplay, at least, right? To get through all of that shit. But the other thing is, I haven't played the game in a year, so I'm going to be rusty. It was a different build, and I had gotten used to it, but that was a year ago. And the other thing is, I want to get to that point, but then be able to give it a bit of a rest, and then go back to it. So you might say, what do you mean? I want to get to the point where the DLC is going to be, and then stop playing it for a few weeks, and then come back when the DLC is new. I don't want to be playing Elden Ring for 2-3 weeks, get to the DLC, and then immediately start the DLC, because then it's going to be Elden Ring burnout. It's too much Elden Ring, you see? So that's what I'm thinking. I want to bring back Elden Ring sooner rather than later. Within the first week or 2 weeks of April, I want to be playing Elden Ring again. So that way we can finish that journey and then give it a little bit of a rest before we jump into the DLC. All right. So, I mean, just listen to what I just said. Dragon's Dogma 2 and Alone in the Dark are the first 2 games I'm playing. Brand new games, juggling them, right? Then a co-op will begin. I'm just not sure when yet. I'll let you know when we have more information. Trying out Battlefront again and seeing, if it works, and if it does, maybe throwing that into the schedule once or twice a week and bringing back Elden Ring. Okay? Now, amidst all of that, I'm all aware that there may be other things going on. For example, we're all awaiting the information about the Akuma release in Street Fighter 6. Right now, I'm not interested in going back to fighting games in any full-time capacity. But maybe when that happens, I'll go back to that. All right? But just listen to the big variety I just said. And by the way, out of all those games I just said, only one of them is truly an RPG, Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, you can argue, but Elden Ring is. Yeah, but it's really its own. When you say Soulsborne, that's its own genre, right? It stands alone. It's different from all the other games in the rotation. Especially, it's going to be different than Dragon's Dogma 2. So there you go. Now, for all the people spamming FF7 in the chat, you can shut up right now because we've already discussed this. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth did absolutely poorly here on DSPGaming. All right? I played about 20 hours, and it did not do well at all. People were not showing up for the streams. They were not engaging. They were falling asleep and talking about unrelated things and actually saying it was boring when they watched me play it. The support was ridiculously low for a brand new RPG playthrough. And at that point, I said, maybe it's because of RPG overload. But if you want to know the truth, I don't think so. I don't think that was the case at all. I think it's just people aren't digging the game as much. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I'm never going to go back to Final Fantasy VII, but I'm not going back to RPG overload. I refuse. If I'm going to choose between 2 RPGs, I'd rather play Dragon's Dogma 2 than Final Fantasy VII Rebirth right now. But I might go back to Final Fantasy VII in the future. Maybe when we get through Dragon's Dogma, we're looking for another RPG, we can go back to it. But I'm not playing 2 major RPGs at once. I'm not an idiot. We literally just did that for 4 months. I'm not a moron, and I don't care how many people spam the chat and whine like babies about it. I'm not killing my business further because in reality, as much as I enjoy RPGs, they kill this business. Literally, Baldur's Gate 3 hurt this channel badly for the last 2 months. I want you to understand that. That was a sacrifice to get through an insane game like that, and I'm not playing long games like that ever again. I can't. They don't fit my formula, all right? Even if they came out with Baldur's Gate 4 tomorrow, I would not be playing it. I cannot play these kind of games anymore. They don't work. Okay? For as much as people came by the streams and supported them, the channel itself has dipped so badly. I'm not kidding you when I'm telling you I am down thousands of dollars a month. Compared to before I started Baldur's Gate 3, this channel has dipped in views and support by thousands of dollars a month. So you may think, but the streams do well, and the streams are great, but that's not a business. That's half of the business. One side has done good, and the other side has completely faltered because of Baldur's Gate 3. Literally, that's the cause and effect reason it's happened. Okay? So I can't do that shit anymore. I can't. I'm not going to be doing this kind of insane stuff anymore, killing this channel. All right. Okay. No, I'm not playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth now. I already said I'm not. It didn't do well when I was actively playing it, and I'm going to be playing Dragon's Dogma 2, so it's that or one or the other, and I've chosen Dragon's Dogma 2 over Final Fantasy VII. I'm just more interested in it. Okay? It's that simple. Fair enough? Okay, so there we go. That's what's going to happen. Starting tomorrow, it's going to be Dragon's Dogma and Alone in the Dark balanced. I just don't know the order yet. We have to figure that out today. I'm down for either. Sunday is React Day, starting with Bully on the late stream, which is going to be fun. Monday, again, it's going to be Dragon's Dogma and Alone in the Dark. Tuesday, we'll get some variety where I'll either play Battlefront or co-op with my wife. And I am looking to integrate, Elden Ring into the schedule soon. I just don't know when yet. Maybe we'll start it next week, because next week we won't have the Friday of finishing these RPGs or whatever. So I think that's what we could do. Okay? All right, Cream Sardine, would you like me to ban you now or later? Because I just said I don't want anyone bitching about this, and you're bitching, and I've had enough. I've had enough. I'm not going to have anyone bitching about Final Fantasy VII at all. Zero. Every complaint I get about it, I'm going to say, shut up, because I'm not killing my business over this. And if you say it another time, I'm going to ban you, because I've just had enough of this entitlement. Oh, I just want what I want, nothing else, and I'm going to sit here and whine and complain. But I just told you the rationale of why we're not doing it. Respect that. No, I want it anyway. Shut the fuck up now. Now I'm telling you, shut the fuck up. I literally just had my channel dying for 4 fucking months. I'm not doing it again because you're going to be entitled about it. All right? I understand if you like Final Fantasy VII. Personally, I was liking the game too. I was disappointed with the reception it got on my streams. It was way low viewership, way low engagement, way low support. And I was like, wow, I was shocked. I thought it was going to do way better than it did. And to the point where I was like, well, if anything goes onto a hold status, it has to be this game because it's just not doing well, you know? So I don't want to hear the whining. I'm the one trying to have a business here, you know, doing variety content. This is not DSP RPG. And I'm not playing RPGs nonstop all year. I'm just not doing it. I can't do it. I will go out of fucking business. You understand me? I will. I will go out of business. Not every RPG I play is going to have people coming by like what happened with Baldur's Gate 3 and supporting every stream in a huge way. In fact, if you didn't notice, with Final Fantasy, it was actually really bad. So stop with the entitlement, because that's not how this fucking channel can work. I wish it could. If I had my way, we would play way more RPGs. I want to make this abundantly clear. I love RPGs. I grew up playing them in the 90s. But that's not what keeps a business afloat. People want balance, okay? And they need to have variety. I'm not going to be listening to a vocal minority of people who are going to sit here and whine and then basically get my chat just caught up in crap. I'm just not going to listen to it anymore. I'm going to do what's right, which means balance, which is always what's worked for this channel. And then when I stopped listening to that and I played a bunch of RPGs, it failed. I knew this was going to happen. I called it RPG overload in January. Everyone's like, not a big deal. And then what happens? I'm not kidding. My views are way down, and the profit on this channel is way down. Just because people come back every day and will, you know, tip on a Baldur's Gate 3 stream, that's great. But what about everything else? What about ongoing memberships? What about people who would super chat when there was a great game that they enjoyed? All those people are gone. You understand? They literally left because they're like, dude, you're playing the same fucking RPGs every day for 4 months. We're tired of it. They want variety. There's people clamoring for new games to come into this situation or to have something like Elden Ring come back. They're tired of the same shit. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So everyone, I hope you understand. And if you don't, sorry that I can't give you everything you want all the time. As they say, you can please some of the people all the time, all the people some of the time, but you simply can't please everyone all the time. What we've had this year is a situation where, unlike previous years, where there would be a giant game that everyone wants me to play. Like, for example, last year at this time, Resident Evil 4 Remake came out, and everyone said, play that game, and I did, and it did stupendous. Views, support, everything was amazing when I played Resident Evil 4 Remake. Right? Because that was one game everyone was hyper-focused on. They wanted to see me play. This literally hasn't happened in 2024. It's been some people want this, some people want this, some people want this, some people want this, and I can't please everyone because I can't play 8 games at once. It just doesn't work. I skipped certain games outright. People are upset about that. I've played certain games, so people are upset about that. So it doesn't matter what I play or what I skip, I'm still on the wrong. So I can't please everyone in a situation like this. I can't. We have to get to the point where eventually there will be things everyone wants to see. I know what that's going to be. The Elden Ring DLC. Everyone wants to see me play the Elden Ring DLC. Oh, me too. I'm very excited about it as well. Okay? So, I'm excited for that, and I hope that you guys will get hyped for that. But until then, we have to play other games. Right? I can't just fucking play non-stop RPGs. It will not work. So that's it, and I'm putting my foot down. I don't want to have anyone whining in the chat about it. I'm giving you a heads up. We're doing variety for the next 2 months until the end of Elden Ring DLC comes out. If you don't like variety, you're in the wrong spot. This is not DSP RPG, where I get less than 200 views a video because no one cares about lengthy RPGs, and then I go out of business. We're not doing that anymore. We're actually going to do variety content. Okay? Fair enough? Thank you to those who are being understanding. Really. But if your people are going to be stupid about it and complain constantly, I'm not going to put up with it. Because it's that kind of attitude that sadly people don't understand is very toxic. There's a difference between saying, man, I really wanted Final Fantasy VII and I really enjoyed it, but I understand why you can't play it right now. Versus, I want what I want, and if you don't give it to me, I'm going to act like a spoiled brat and just stand in your chat and whine and complain and make everything toxic. There's a big difference there. You see? There's a huge difference. This would be the equivalent, and I know you love the food references, right? You go into a restaurant and they used to serve your favorite dish. For some reason, they just can't serve it anymore. So, if they're not serving the dish you don't like, you stand in the restaurant and scream at the top of your lungs, why don't you serve the dish? Why don't you serve the dish? Why don't you serve the dish? Or do you leave and go somewhere else? Right? Or, just maybe, if you're actually kind of adventurous, try a different dish. Because you might like it as much as the old one. Right? Or maybe you like it even more. So just maybe, instead of screaming around for Final Fantasy VII, which ain't happening anytime soon, stick around and watch another playthrough and you might like it. Instead of just being a whiner about the thing that you are so entitled and demanding for that I'm not doing. Okay? And again, it's not that I didn't give it a chance. I absolutely gave Final Fantasy VII a chance and it didn't work. It just didn't. People didn't show up. They were bored and said they were completely disengaged. That's how you can truly tell when a game just isn't resonating with an audience. When people are completely disengaged. They're literally not even talking about the game in the chat. They're doing everything they can to completely derail the chat because they don't care about the game being played on it at all. And that's sad when that happens. You know what I mean? I want to have a stream that people are engaged in supporting and enjoying. And if I can't do that, then why am I going to continue to play that game? Okay. All right, guys. So, we got through all of that. That took a while. I want to talk about my day off yesterday in a segment that I like to call Phil's Day Off. Wow, isn't that an interesting coincidence? That's what I call it. Yesterday was a busy day. My wife and I were all over the place. We had to stock up on a bunch of stuff that we were out of, and had other errands and things that we had to run. We didn't have any big major like appointments or anything like that for a change, which was good. But we did have a ton of stuff to do. We were running around. Actually, while we were out, went to one of those, as I've been telling you, sometimes I go to these more discount clothing resellers. I never go and buy things full price. In fact, I'm going to tell you a story now. So we went to this discount place that resells unsold clothing from, top name stores at a huge discounted price. I got 5 new shirts for the summer. All right. Short sleeve shirts. Some are similar to like the Hawaiian style shirts that I already had, but a lot are not. A lot are just different designs that are kind of nice and different. Think shirts like this, but short sleeve instead that I can wear during the spring or summer. So I got 5 of them and each one was $12 or less. Okay. So pretty good. So one of them is an Izod shirt that says it's a line called C something or something like that, or no, saltwater or something like that. And I think what it's supposed to be is meant to be like a summertime shirt. So you think saltwater, the beach, right? That's the name of the line of shirts. And it's a really nice tropical looking shirt. And then we went afterward to a name brand full price store that was selling the brand new clothes at full price. The same line of shirts sell for $45 new. And this shirt is new. It's just unsold. I was like, dude, I just bought a $45 shirt for $12 just because I bought it at a discount store rather than getting it at the name brand store. It's awesome. I love Izod shirts. And I was like, wow, that's really awesome savings. And it just sucks because obviously what happens is then you go to the full price store and you start walking through and I'm looking at the shirts. I'm like, oh my God, Champion. Look at the quality of this shirt. It's like fully breathable material. It's so good. And it's $50. There's no fucking way I'm spending $50 on one shirt. I'm not crazy rich. I'm not blowing my money like that. Right? And like, oh, here's another one. I really like the look of these because they're Eddie Bauer. I was like, oh, Eddie Bauer shirts. These look really good. Oh, those are $43 each. Like, what the fuck? That full price stuff is ridiculous. So, yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm glad I went to the discount store first and bought the shirts I got there because seeing them full price is like, oh my God. But I had zero temptation to buy any of them because I had already gotten 5 shirts for like $50 instead of one shirt for $50. You see? So Yeah, so that's good. So I will have more shirts in my rotation once it gets warmer. And by the way, it may get warmer sooner rather than later. When I was actually checking the weather here, it looks like even this week it's gonna warm up one day, probably like Tuesday-ish. It's supposed to be almost 70 degrees here, but then it cools down again the next day. So we're gonna have like some days when it's warm, and the cool thing is I have the ability to wear shorts and a short sleeve shirt if I need to, because I have them now. So that's good, right? So that was fun. And then for dinner, we actually went to a different ramen place than the one that we usually go to, but it was still local, and the ramen was absolutely good. It was delicious. It was full of flavor. The one I got had more of like a pork base, while Kat got one that had a miso base. So they tasted completely different. And they even put different noodles in them. Like I had thinner noodles and she had thicker noodles. And the pork, they put slices of pork belly, and the pork belly was so amazing. It was like melt in your mouth good. It was a super duper good ramen dinner that we had while we were out, which we almost never do. We almost never eat out like that. But it was fun because we were out almost all day. Like we left the house, I want to say around noonish, and we didn't get home till after like 8:30 p.m. So we were out like all day, grocery shopping, Costco, pet store, clothing shopping, all kinds of shit. It took us all day long. So it was a very busy day, a very tiring day. By the time I got home, I was sore. You know, I'm not used to being out 8-9 hours straight, walking around, carrying stuff. Got home, I'm like, oh my God, old man Phil, right? I'm like, oh, my back is killing me because I'm a fucking, stupid idiot who just sits here all day in a chair and I'm not used to moving. So that was Phil's day off. Nothing ultra crazy, but it was a good day, productive day. I'm happy to have more shirts in my wardrobe that I'll be wearing on streams in probably just a few weeks to a month when it gets warmer here. Excuse me. So now, ladies and gentlemen, moving forward, it is time for another segment. It's my favorite segment. It's your favorite segment. In some cases, it's everyone's favorite segment. It's a segment that I like to call DSP News. And today we have several different news stories to discuss. First of all, the PS Plus essential titles for April have been announced and will be live shortly. They start in the beginning of April, I think April 1st or 2nd. They are Skull the Hero Slayer, Minecraft Legends. Wasn't that Minecraft spin-off game that actually had like a story to it or something like that? I think, but I don't remember what it was. And Immortals of Avium. Does anyone remember Immortals of Avium at all? It came out last year and it got zero, and I mean zero, hype behind it. There was almost no real push to sell the game. The promotion was terrible. The marketing was non-existent. And they released it the same time as Baldur's Gate 3. So it literally got eaten alive. Just no one played it. No one even knew it existed. Okay? Some people who played it, they said it's all right. Others have said it's actually quite good. But again, it was completely dead. And this was the game that I believe it was, is it EA? Whoever is the publisher of it, okay, literally came out and said, this is the reason why we don't want to make single-player games anymore. Seriously, this is what they said. They said, oh, you see, we put all this millions of dollars into this game, and no one bought it, but all of our live service games with microtransactions are doing good, so we should just keep making those. I'm not shitting you. They came out and said this in like an event. They were interviewing one of the head-ups, and this is how they answered. It's like, dude, you made a game, and you didn't market it at all. You literally just expected it to sell itself. You spent no money on the marketing. So no one knew the game existed. We saw what? Summer Game Fest, we saw like a minute of footage of it. But even then, it was hard to tell what it was. There was no real push to get it out there or get anyone interested in it. And then Baldur's Gate 3 was coming out, and that was what was the hype thing. And it's like they just gave up. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they did just give up on it. They were like, forget it. We have no chance. And that's sad. That's really sad. Because if this game is good, which it might be, I wish that it did have an audience. So, being a PS Plus Essentials game for April, maybe it'll finally get an audience. Maybe people will play it this next month and be like, holy shit, this game actually was good. And everyone just skipped it, because Baldur's Gate. So maybe give it a look. If you're a PS Plus subscriber in April at any level, you'll have access to it. Am I playing it? No. I already told you my agenda for April. That's what I'm interested in. So there you go. Um, so we've been talking about what to do during my birthday event coming up in a week, a little over a week. It's actually a week from tomorrow, okay? So far, we've kind of locked in some interesting ideas. Number one, we're going to do a gaming schedule update, all right? And number two, we're going to be doing food and booze. And number three, I'm going to be reacting to some of my most highest viewed videos of all time. But we have a tier maker that we've been talking about, and we haven't really decided what the tier maker is going to be. Well, during my day off, OP Boone did a post, and I wanted to read this to you guys. Is this really news? Well, yes and no, but it's an interesting idea, all right? He says, you can rank each year of your YouTube career based off the games you played, but other factors regarding you and your content and your life. Like in 2010 and 2011, you can rank high. There were great game releases those years, and you were at the height of your popularity on YouTube. 2013, you moved to direct capture. Maybe that could be a high-ranking year because Xbox One and PS4 came out. 2017, you had a resurgence because you came back as a full-time live streamer. Maybe 2020, there was the release of PS5 and the Xbox Series X, and also the fact that you had the vest streak and stuff like that. Okay? Interesting. But the only thing that's going to be tough about that, honestly, would be it's going to be very hard to remember a lot of stuff because I've been around for so long. Like, if you were to tell me, hey, rank 2009 versus 2015, I'd be like, I have no fucking clue. I'd have to go back and look at my channels and look at the games I played to remember what games actually came out that I played and covered. I'd have to try to think about what actually happened those years, and it might be like a tough thing to do. So I'm okay with this idea because all it would be is 2008, 2009, 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, right? And of course, 24, we wouldn't rank because it just started. We would take all those years and you have to try to rank them, and it's like, that might be tricky. It might be a tricky thing to do, but I'd be okay, perhaps, in doing something like that. Okay? So what do you guys think about that? Should that be the tier maker that we do during the birthday event? And even if we don't finish it, I think we could start it and it would be fun. And that's an easy one to make. You know, Derek was on the stream the other day. He's like, I want to make a tier maker for you. I'm like, yeah, but we don't know what we're doing. So maybe if we solidify this and say that's what we're going to do, maybe have them like whip together a quick tier maker with just years, you know, or something like that and go from there. I don't know. But let me know what you think. If you like that idea, we're still trying to solidify all the stuff we'll be doing during the birthday event, and that's a great idea, I feel. In fact, I'll save that on my phone so we can talk about that later. You guys may have heard about this. Maybe you didn't. But there's a new game coming out called Marvel Rivals. Now, I don't believe it has a full release date yet, but they are saying that there's going to be a closed alpha starting in May. This is a game that's for PC only. All right? PC only. So that's already limiting it. It's going to be free to play. It's going to be a 6v6 team-based action game, third-person perspective. And it's all Marvel characters, including characters from X-Men, Spider-Man, the Avengers, all fighting against each other with their superpowers. So, team-based combat, and already people are saying it's Marvel's Overwatch. Well, it is, except it's not first-person like Overwatch, it's third-person. And not to say that that's a big change or anything. So, it's funny because at first when it was announced, people were like, oh, that could be interesting. But already some cracks are starting to form around the game. First of all, it's made by a company called NetEase. Do anyone you know the company NetEase? Do you know what they are? They're a mobile games company. Up until this point, they've literally only pumped out mobile video games. So if you play mobile games, maybe you're aware of them, but this would be their first major outing into a full-fledged game rather than a mobile model. But being that the game is free to play, you know what that means. This game is going to be rife with microtransactions. And how many times have we seen a game like this come out, and all of a sudden, you got people spending insane amounts of money on it to get ahead, or, you know, I want the new character, drop money on the loot box, drop money on this or that, right? Like, we don't know how the monetization model is going to work. Obviously, free to play means there's definitely huge monetization in it somewhere. But the question is how? If it's pay to win, then what's the point of even playing the game, right? Now, I'm interested because it's PC, and I have a mini PC I don't use. Would I be able to play this game on the mini PC? I don't know. I can't answer that. Maybe. If I can, that'd be cool. I think I'd like to check it out, but I don't know the requirements if it would be able to run on that thing or not. At least to give it a shot when it's new. It's free to play. You know, why not even give it a shot, right? So the closed alpha's in May, but it's closed. I don't know how to get into it yet. I don't think they've even announced the details of that yet. But if you guys are interested, I would look into it further, or if you have more details on it, I'd be interested in that. As long as I can figure out a way to play it. You know what I mean? Well, there's basically one other thread to our news today, and it is basically a bunch of game companies are being sold off. And in some cases, the companies are actually very happy about this. Okay? So the first announcement, Sega has sold Relic Entertainment and will cut 240 roles across Sega Europe, Creative Assembly, and Sega Hardlight. Relic will transition into an independent studio and no longer be part of the Sega group of studios. So for those who don't know, this company has made games such as Company of Heroes 3. Does anyone know that game? Because the thing is, I don't even know what that is. Relic Entertainment and Company of Heroes 3. It doesn't really ring a bell to me. But what's interesting is, a lot of these companies at one point were desperate to join these more conglomerate-style bigger publishers and companies, feeling that that was going to benefit them, maybe to have more money or whatever. But now it seems like a lot of these companies are trying to cut off and do their own thing. We just saw it with Toys for Bob. They became part of Activision, and immediately were told, just make Call of Duty DLC shit, which they hated doing, right? And then they decided, hey, screw that. We're going to go independent. And so they have, and now they're happy again, and now they're already, going to make a game for Microsoft. Same thing here, where it sounds to me like this company probably wasn't too happy being a part of Sega. So now, thankfully, they're going to be, becoming independent and trying to do things for themselves. I think it's sad that Sega is cutting a bunch of roles. At the same time, if you really think about games coming out of Sega these days, what are the good ones? Well, the Like a Dragon series and the Lost Judgment series. We did just have Sonic Frontiers that did decently. But outside of that, can you tell me what Sega's been up to that's been good or done well? I can't think of a single other game that's coming out under that umbrella, right? It's like they are really milking Like a Dragon and its spin-offs for all it's worth. And, every once in a while, they try to bring back Sonic. Like, for example, later this year, we got this new Sonic Generations game that now has Shadow in it. But it just feels to me like that's it. Like, what else are they doing? So, I guess maybe that's why they're cutting jobs. It's unfortunate. I wish that Sega would come back and do something better. I don't know why they've been floundering the way that they have been. The other one, and this I think is a much bigger story. Just listen to this. Embracer Group divests Gearbox Entertainment for consideration of $460 million to Take-Two Interactive Software. It's official. The company that owns GTA is now going to own Borderlands and all those franchises. So they're even saying Take-Two will get Borderlands and Tiny Tina's and Wonderlands franchises, Homeworld, Risk of Rain, Brothers in Arms, and Duke Nukem. Okay? So they're getting all the major stuff from the umbrella of Gearbox. They're buying it all out. And it's going to be under Take-Two now. And some people are like, will this mean that perhaps some of these games that have been around on the shelf for a while, namely Duke Nukem, would actually have content again? If you remember, Duke Nukem Forever released in 2011 after an insanely long dev cycle of something like 13 years. It came out, and everyone was like, meh. I personally thought that it was an awesome throwback to the classic Duke Nukem from the 90s. It played like it. It sounded like it. It looked like it, which I guess a lot of people weren't happy with the graphics. But overall, the tone was just like a Duke Nukem game from the 90s, so I actually really enjoyed it. But most people hated it. Absolutely hated it. Well, you got Take-Two Interactive, the game known for irreverent adult style, Take-Two Interactive makes some immature games, right? GTA isn't known for its ultimate maturity, correct? So, does this mean that they would revive the franchise? I don't know. I guess we'll see. But it's a huge announcement because, a lot of these games are on the downturn, like Borderlands. For those who don't know, Borderlands 3 was not critically acclaimed like its previous two outings. And Tales from the Borderlands 2, the sequel to the one from Telltale before, did very poorly. Like, no one even really talked about it. It did not sell well. So the Borderlands franchise is on a downward turn. But the funny part about it is there's a Borderlands movie coming out. So I want you to think about this. At a time when the Borderlands movie is about to come out, it might give Borderlands unprecedented popularity. Borderlands was just sold to Take-Two Interactive. Right? Perhaps Borderlands is going to get a big injection of adrenaline into it now. I wonder, right? I wonder. But anyway, it was funny. Randy Pitchford, who is very controversial. Let's be honest. A lot of people don't like the guy. He's the head of Gearbox. Said the following: joining forces with Take-Two Interactive and 2K will help Gearbox ascend to our next level. Take-Two and 2K have demonstrated repeatedly their commitment to our engine of generating creativity, happiness, and profit. We set remarkable results with groundbreaking, record-setting games when we worked together at arm's length as partners. I'm incredibly excited about what we can accomplish now that we're fully aligned as one. So, I guess we'll see what happens here. And by the way, during all this going on, basically in the documentation, okay, it was revealed that Borderlands 4 is already in development. So Borderlands 4 is being made. How long along in the development, we don't know, but it was revealed that, yes, it's basically that's going to Take-Two now. So I guess we'll see. Do you really think that being under the umbrella of a new parent company would make things go differently? Because I'll be honest, I do think Gearbox has kind of lost its way. I think that they were doing good for a while there, and then they kind of floundered the last many years. So hopefully maybe this will bring them back in alignment with what gamers and everybody wants. I don't know. Anyway, okay, one last story, and this one's kind of interesting. It's not gaming related. All right? So as we all know, Twitter is no longer called Twitter. It's called X. It was bought out by Elon Musk for about a year now. And, you know, a lot of people say they like it better. A lot of people say they don't like it as much. I'll be honest. I think that it's a mess. I think that since, you know, it was taken over, the feeds are awful. Like, you can't really get a lot of meaningful information anymore just in your feed. You get spoon-fed a bunch of shit you don't want, and you try to get it out of your feed, and it comes back. So you try to get it out of your feed again, and it comes back again. Like, the bots they're using to figure out an algorithm of what you want to watch are terrible. It's like they're trying to purposefully feed you certain content you don't want, and you can't get rid of it. It's really fucking annoying. So, get this. This is not critics of X. This is actual people who own spam bots have actually come out in interviews now and said it has gotten way easier to drive traffic since Elon Musk bought Twitter. Here's why. The site just has way less moderation because when Elon bought it, he fired everybody. He brought in his own people, but he has way less staffing. So the moderation is way less. Gaming top-rated replies on bigger accounts is easy to do. So you look for a big celebrity or a big person who tweets. You find a top-rated reply and you game it. You immediately respond to that with a bunch of your spam shit. So people are trying to read replies to an important tweet. They see a bunch of advertisements and crap. Okay? Using blue checks for amplification. That's right. You can now pay for the blue check mark and you get guaranteed verified status, which literally means nothing. It means nothing anymore. It's worthless on Twitter. And what ends up happening is all your tweets get priority. So the bots get priority over real people now. And they made a killing off of the Netflix and FUCKME posts. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, but for what I'm to understand, even though Twitter has censorship of sexual content, you can do things like just separate letters in a word. You can use, like for example, like there's bots out there that are, for no exaggeration, like adult sites, okay? So what they do is they post up, it'll be like, parentheses F, parentheses U, parentheses C, parentheses, you see? So they're just doing that, and it just completely bypasses all the moderation on the site. So any human, of course, a robot is stupid and can't catch that, but a human knows what that means. So they're just immediately getting all basically adult-rated sexual content onto X, and no one's doing anything about it. It's ridiculous. And then, just listen to this. Tons of OnlyFans accounts are actually run by agencies, not by the people who they claim are operating the accounts. They talk simultaneously to dozens of people at a time, and the people think they're actually talking to models when they're not. They're actually talking to male operators who are pretending to be people, basically catfishing them. It even says every guy who works for us have 3 or more monitors, and they're talking to like 5 to 10 people at a time, and they're just gaming this X system, and the people are so dumb they all fall for it, right? Now, none of this existed at all before Elon bought X. But when he bought Twitter, he changed it, he reduced the moderation, and now the site is basically a shit show. And it's sad. Listen, here's the thing. I don't like censorship. And absolutely positively, before Elon bought X or Twitter or whatever, okay? Basically, it was one way leaning politically to the left, okay? The owners of Twitter admitted it, okay? So now Elon buys it, and he says, well, I want free speech, but in honesty, all that means is that basically the people who used to not be able to talk on Twitter are back. So now what you see is a flooding to the right. That's just, again, it's the pendulum swinging. It was all the way to the left. Well, he buys it. Well, now it's just going to go all the way to the right. Like, it's just a natural thing. Maybe eventually it'll even out and be, moderate in the middle. But right now it's just all the way the other way. Okay? And because he bought it, but didn't basically care about making it, well run, honestly, the whole site's inundated with garbage now. So, you're trying to use the site. Like, me, it's harder now. It's way harder now for me to get news stories for this show. I try to get news for you guys, and it's like a nightmare trying to get news stories for the podcast, because half the time I can't find anything because I'm inundated with crap. So it's what idiots want to push forward, what the bots keep pushing each day. Some of the big trends on Twitter every day are bots, meaning the bots all said this phrase. And so what is this phrase? You click on it, it's just a bunch of bots repeating it. Literally, it's all the same tweet 50 million times by a bunch of fucking robots. So it just promotes crap. It's like, what is this? It shouldn't even be on the site. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. I'm not surprised to hear a story that all this stuff is going terrible. You know what I mean? So, anyway. It's just funny because they say, it goes this way, then it goes this way. It does. Only, is it better either way? I don't think so. I think what we need a level-headed person who's serious about just operating the business for being like a fair place to talk, as opposed to, oh, well, I'm totally left. Well, I'm totally right. Well, I want it to be a free speech, but then that means that all these fucking bots come in and ruin the site. Like, what? Like, no. It's just funny because a lot of the things that Elon said, like, he's like, I think the only way we're going to get rid of bots is to make verified memberships paid for. No, what? Like, it's such a lie when he said shit like that. It's like, what did it do? No, it just made the bots get priority because they paid for it, you stupid idiot. Anyway, the site sucks. Okay, ladies and gents, I think it's now time for us to get to shout-outs. All right, so let's begin, shall we? And then we're going to get into the conclusion of Like a Dragon today. So, let's see here. Our first contribution of the day came from Steve. It was a super chat, and he says, Senator Joe Lieberman has passed away. Yeah, he passed away on Wednesday. He's in the 80s, I believe. Any memories of his time as Senator of Connecticut for his campaign against gaming? It was him, and who was the other guy? There were these two guys who were infamous in the 1990s, where they were totally trying to censor video games. They kept saying that, like, games were awful and too ultra-violent. Jack Thompson, that's who it was. It was Joe Lieberman and Jack Thompson. Thank you. I forgot the other guy's name. Oh, by the way, that's the end of DSP news, so we can come back over here. And what they would do is they would talk about these games, and they would completely over-sensationalize them. So, for example, I remember this one game that everyone made a scapegoat in the 90s was Night Trap, okay? And they were like, aren't you aware that Night Trap is this horrendous sexualized game about girls that are being abused by a bunch of violent criminals and stuff? And it's like, you could tell they didn't play the game. Night Trap has nothing to do with that. It's a bunch of girls having a party in a house, okay? And basically these guys break in, and it's comic. It's comedic. There's no nudity. There's no real violence whatsoever. It's meant to be kind of like a parody of 1980s like horror movies, but it's not serious. It's actually the whole game's a joke. It's goofy, and half the people are. Just look at this: vampires. They smile. They have fangs. It's stupid. It's a stupid game. It was meant to be campy, stupid. There's nothing horrible in that game whatsoever. But the people like Joel Lieberman and Jack Thompson campaigned to the 90s. Oh, we gotta get these games banned. It's like, you didn't play them, you idiots. You guys just made it up. The one that, of course, everyone complained about was Mortal Kombat, right? And Mortal Kombat being so ultra gory or whatever. And I understand, listen, a game where someone rips someone's head off and their spine's dangling from it, maybe too gory for kids. Maybe you shouldn't have kids playing it. Kids played it anyway, you know, but I kind of understand that. They tried, that's exactly right, Lady Charisma. They were trying to blame games like Doom for the Columbine shooting and massacre. And it's like, Doom? How many people played Doom? And compare the total amount of players of Doom in the 1990s versus how many went and did horrendous acts like that, right? I mean, it's ridiculous to even make that association. You know what I'm saying? That's like, okay, that's like saying, and this is apparently what happened, that the people who committed 9/11, right? They were doing flight simulator games. So that's like saying the flight simulator games are horrible because they can make people terrorists, right? What the fuck are you talking about? The stupidest thing I've ever heard. This is the fringe. This is the one in a zillion that happens as a result. And then you act like that's the case in point of what happens to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's literally how they were talking in the 90s about they wanted to ban these games or label any game with violence like adults only. It was just extreme. But this is actually how the video game ratings board came about, because before then there really were no ratings on games. So parents did have a hard time judging what was kid friendly and not. I agree with the ratings board for games. I really do. Just like movies. It was hard. You know, you want your kid watching something that's in line with their age and maturity range. You don't want a little kid playing an ultra gory game. You know what I mean? So you need to have that. And I think that the ratings board, it was a great idea. Now, is it perfect? No, it's not. It has a lot of flaws and issues, and sometimes there's dumb stuff that happens with it. But, you know, definitely the 90s were an interesting time. And like I said, Joe Lieberman was one of the people who spearheaded that movement of kind of censorship or regulation of video games. So that's what I remember him from. And also, he was a vice presidential candidate, I think, in the early 2000s. Wasn't he the vice presidential candidate for Al Gore? Wasn't it Al Gore and Joe Lieberman that were running in 2000 and they lost to Bush Jr.? I think so, right? Anyway, okay, continuing on. BB Phil has done a super chat. Thank you, BB Phil. I saw Alex Vai mentioned you in a recent interview. Oh, great. I'm sure it's in a positive manner. He said people begged him to try and stop your Evo run. I never heard that one before. You must have absolutely been a dangerous player if they had to beg Alex Vai to try and stop you. Again, that's the first time I've literally ever heard that statement. I never really talked with Vai that much because we were different. I was always East Coast. He was West Coast. We were known as rivals just because of that. It was really stupid the way that was back then. But anyway, yeah, I mean, and the funny part is he did beat me in 2006, but then I beat him in 2007. We were 1-1. We never actually finished our competitive set of Super Turbo, nor have we ever faced each other in a real tournament on the original arcade hardware. It's always been like different console ports and shit that we've played. So we've never actually had a real showdown on the real game. And again, he'd probably whoop my ass because I don't play it anymore. So there you go. And BB Phil became a member. Thank you, BB Phil, for the membership. Jack Anderson re-upped his membership for 25 months. Would you co-op with members with long memberships? Co-op in what? As you know, I'm a solo gamer. If I do multiplayer online, it's 9 times out of 10 randomized multiplayer. I don't really do co-op stuff. So, no, I'm not really interested in that. And Covenant Lazarus did a super chat. Did you see Embargo creator Enkel is releasing an RPG horror game? I have no idea what any of that means. Embargo creator, what is Embargo? No, I have no idea what you're talking about. Covenant Lazarus, sorry, I don't. I wish I did. I wish I knew what you were speaking of, but I don't. But thank you for the super chat, Covenant Lazarus. Okay. All right, now we get to tip side of stuff. Sorry that it's already running late because I had a lot to talk about. I always do on my day back, right? We always have a ton of things to talk about. I received, let's see here. Wow. Epic Kirk rebrushed. Tipped $1, and here's what he has to say. Thank you for calling out Elon Musk. The guy is a loony copycat disciple of mine who will say and do anything at this point to maintain his wealth and power. The guy embodies changing the world and is all about making great products and services that incidentally are affordable, but there's a dilemma. He's changing the world for the better, but his politics say he wants to terraform Earth into a real-world Elysium the movie. Sigh. Well, congratulations on all of that. Thanks for the tip. I received a $3 tip from Big Papa Phil. Have you watched the new show X-Men 97? I love the original series. I like the idea of a new series bringing over the look and feel of the older series they're based on. I don't have Disney Plus, and I'm not getting it back, so I have no way to watch the show. If it ever is available somewhere that I don't have to spend extra money to watch it, maybe. But as I said weeks ago, you know, the 1990s, there was a lot of things that I liked and I watched all the time. Definitely the X-Men Saturday morning cartoon was one of them. The Animaniacs, the Batman animated series, Gargoyles. You know, there's certain things that were staples of my youth in those early 90s. And then I got older, and I don't really care for those things anymore. You know, it's kind of like how there's 700 different versions of Ninja Turtles now, and people keep asking me, well, did you see the latest one? Did you see the latest one? Did you see the latest one? And every time I answer, no, no, no. My interest in Ninja Turtles waned as I became an adult. I don't really care for Ninja Turtles that much. If there happens to be a video game that's a nostalgic throwback like there was 2 years ago with Shredder's Revenge or the Ninja Turtles collection that came out, sure, I'll throw some variety into my streams with some Ninja Turtles content, but I'm not someone who actively seeks out to watch Ninja Turtles constantly, you see? So whenever there's a new reboot, the new version, the new rehash, I don't really care. So when you ask me, do I care about X-Men 97? I'm like, maybe there's a tiny bit of nostalgic curiosity just to see what they've done. But am I actively like seeking to continue watching a show that ceased airing in the 1990s and is now having a season that literally continues that plot line some almost 30 years later when I'm an adult? And no, I don't want to sit around watching X-Men cartoon. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not interesting to me. I haven't even cared much about X-Men at all. I didn't see the last several X-Men movies. And that's, me caring. I used to watch all the X-Men content. The last thing I saw X-Men was Days of Future Past and the Logan movie. And that's it. I haven't seen anything past that, nor do I really care to. Because I just don't care about X-Men anymore, right? Your interest in stuff wanes over time. I get older, I'm like, Just like a lot of things. Like a lot of people still today are bringing up pro wrestling in the chat. And I'm like, I haven't seen a match of pro wrestling since 2020. Like, that was literally the last time I saw. It was 4 years ago, a WrestleMania during COVID, right? That was the last match I saw. Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar. I remember it. Because after I watched it, I was like, meh. And I literally shut it off. And then I canceled WWE Network, which doesn't exist anymore, right? I canceled the network. I don't care about this stuff anymore. It's fucking boring to me. I'm past it now. So, yeah. I mean, more power to you if you like the X-Men show. If it ever popped up somewhere where I could actively watch it, I probably would give it a look. But no, I'm not crazy for it. I've kind of passed it. I don't really care about it anymore. It's like Ninja Turtles. I would say same as Ninja Turtles. And Ninja Turtles, I was huge into Ninja Turtles. I watched the cartoon. I had the comic books. I had both versions of the comic books, the Archie and the Eastman and Laird originals. I watched the movies, everything. And then I just kind of like, I don't really care about Ninja Turtles anymore. And then they continued in the 2000s. They continued in the 2010s. They're continuing in the 2020s. It's like, dude, it's fucking Ninja Turtles. It's a bunch of mutated turtles wearing masks, acting like ninjas. It's not the best concept ever. How are we still doing this like 40 years later? It's pretty insane. Anyway, continue on here. I received a $15 tip. One Minute Man. My nose itches. 1 Minute Man with a $15 tip. I'm gonna get my screen to load. There we go. Okay. So 1 Minute Man, $15 tip, and says the following. Congrats on finishing Baldur's Gate 3. It's been a long journey, stressful at times, but you persevered, and although you skipped a few quests due to time constraints, your playthrough is quite solid. Now only the epilogue remains. This is probably the best video game epilogue ever made. As for the epilogue, if you had actually given this Githyanki egg to Lae'zel before the end of the game, she would actually have a son. Wow. Gale is a god because you made it that certain dialogue choice. Karlach will have some news. Shadowheart will have some stuff to talk about. If you saved her parents, she actually ends up with them. Well, she decided not to. Perhaps a better ending. And also, who got married? I didn't hear any marriage vows. It's just a reunion. Oh, we'll find out. We'll find out. And there's another $10 tip from 1 Minute Man. He says, I'm a bit surprised how quickly you decided to comply with Orpheus' request and become an instrument of death. I think most people would have tried to avoid that. Why didn't you try to persuade Orpheus to go on living? Hold on. I'll play another animation for you and add this to the leaderboard, and then we will, I'll answer that. Yes, he says more here. He says, if you succeeded the charisma check, he would have agreed and even shown up for the reunion. I wouldn't recommend working for a 988 hotline. Here's the thing. At least my take on this, okay? I feel like in Baldur's Gate 3, in some games there's charisma, and the charisma means, like, okay, you have the ability to say certain options or say things that maybe a person who wasn't as witty as you wouldn't be able to say. Like, I feel like that's what it is in Fallout. When you play Fallout, 3 or New Vegas or 4, when you have high charisma in there, right? I feel like you're basically able to say more intelligent things, right? And that could convince people otherwise. I feel like in Baldur's Gate 3, you're just kind of mind-fucking people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not actually telling them something smart or intelligent. You're just giving them, like, a tongue-tie words, and they're like, and then they just do something different because they're like, mind-addled, right? I mean, the whole Mind Flayer plotline makes you feel that way. Like, there's always something underlying going on. So, it'd be like, literally, the entire game, you're told, Orpheus detests the Illithids. He thinks that they're the ultimate evil. He wants to end the Illithids. Like, that's his ultimate existence, is that he wants to end them and become the liberator of his people. But then he makes the ultimate sacrifice. He turns himself Illithid to stop the Illithids. And then when it's done, he's like, this is the ultimate evil. I don't want to exist like this anymore. It's actually, it's the opposite of what I would want for my people or whatever. So unless there was a way to reverse the change, right? He's already told you, my outright strongest feeling and desire is that I want to go. I don't want to be around like this. This is not going to help my people. And by the way, as we've already said, it seems like every Illithid in the game eventually goes bad. Even though we found one with Omalum who seems like he's a good guy, what's to say that he might not change eventually, right? Everyone. Even we thought the Emperor was a good guy until the end when we found out actually he's a bad guy. His whole idea was to control everyone. After he took out the brain, he wanted the crown for himself, and eventually he was going to take everything over. Maybe it's not today, but that was his master plan. He already had done so with Duke Stelman, and no one even knew it, So, I kind of understand where the prince is coming from. And listen, he should have the ability to choose what he wants to do with his own life, right? Now, maybe it's wrong that he asks you to kill him. Maybe if he had done himself off or something. I don't know. But like I said, if you're using that charisma, it feels to me like you're not convincing them to do something different. You're literally like mind controlling them, right? You used your words to play a fast one, and they're like, blah, 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 okay, whatever. Instead of saying, oh, you've convinced me now with your argument to think differently, it seems more like you're actually like mind controlling them. And I think that would be messed up. If every single time you heard about the prince, you heard about this, he told you himself, this is evil. I don't want it in me, but I'm sacrificing myself for the good of everyone. Literally, he's the martyr of the world. When you think about it, he saved everyone by sacrificing himself like that. You know, and he knows that eventually he's going to go evil. Stop it before it gets to that point, right? So that's a noble thing, you know? And hey, if that's how he wants to go, I think he should have the ability to make that choice. You shouldn't take that choice from him and say, well, even though this is ultimately what you want for yourself, too fucking bad, I'm more important and smarter than you, so I tell you what to do, right? I don't like that. He made his choice, so let him have his choice be what happens, rather than taking that freedom away from him. Because essentially that's what it would be. You'd be taking the freedom away from him if you mind fuck him with the charisma choice. I felt anyway, okay? Shout out to Wade Mills, who became a member this morning. And by the way, everyone, I hope that you're excited for today. I mean, today is like a celebration. It really is. We're finishing 2 of the longest running games that I've been playing. And we can move on to new stuff starting tomorrow. And again, we got to figure out the order. Do you want Alone in the Dark first and Dragon's Dogma at night? Or do you want Dragon's Dogma first and Alone in the Dark at night? Let's make the decision today, talk about it during these streams and figure it out. So I can let everyone know in the schedule tonight what we're doing. But today is absolutely a celebration of end of these insane playthroughs, the end of RPG Overload, moving into new content for the first time in months. I am very excited, okay? The end of an era. That's right, Wade. The end of an era. Jade, you're going to check out the new Godzilla movie? You know, I had no idea it was coming out. You had mentioned it the other day, and I was like, I wonder what Jade's talking about. And then I saw an ad for it on Twitter this morning that it's got the new Godzilla vs. Kong, right? So now I know what you're talking about. Well, I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, if you're not here for the end of the stream, well, I'm sure you can watch on demand after. I know you want to see how Like a Dragon ends, I'm sure. And check it out later, but I hope you enjoy the movie. The first one was good. The first Godzilla vs. Kong, I genuinely enjoyed. I didn't think I would. I actually really liked it. So I think that it should be a good one, hopefully. Am I doing anything special for Easter? No. In fact, my wife and I had forgotten that this Sunday was Easter. And then we went out yesterday, and every store had Easter stuff in it. We're like, oh, crap, yeah, that's right. You know, right now, we're trying to figure out if we're even going to do anything for our anniversary. It's our 5th wedding anniversary this year. And we're like, when is it? Oh, yeah, April 10th. Maybe we should have a day off that day and go out and do something. It's like, our lives are so hectic with all the stuff that we're busy with that we forget about shit 90% of the time. I literally would not remember my own birthday unless I did a stream of it. Seriously, like I wouldn't even think or remember when my birthday was unless we were doing an event on that day, right? So I think we're going to do something. We were talking about, regardless if we have the actual anniversary day off or another day that week, we're probably going to go out to dinner somewhere nice that day. We're trying to figure it out right now. Okay. I got a $2 tip. From James Nichols, which I already answered this, but people keep asking the same question over and over. You ready? I promise I'm not trying to be ungrateful or troll. I'm curious. You were adamant this last month about finishing Like a Dragon, even though it barely got any support and bad viewership. So why do you not care about finishing Final Fantasy as much, especially because it's the second part of a trilogy that you may want to finish up in the future? When you consider returning to it in a dead period, you were still early in the game, and many of us are still looking forward to it. Well, I already answered this a million times, so let me answer it again. I like the game a lot, and I actually want to continue it, and I would probably continue it in the future, so I don't know why you're asking that, because I've already said that I probably would. But it would have to be a time when we're not playing other RPGs, because I'm not doing RPG Overload again. I don't want to play more than one RPG at one time anymore, because it's just too much, and it's too much for the channel, and it makes the views go down, it makes the engagement go down, and people are tired of it. In regards to Like a Dragon, this was a game that I was planning on playing for many years. I couldn't wait for it to come out. When it came out, I was very excited for it, but of course, it's a late night stream, and people don't really like the late night streams as much. It's more of a chill vibe than anything else, and it's not really a moneymaker for me. It never really was intended to be that, but I knew that I wanted to play it because I like the franchise so much. It's funny because everyone's like, just quit Like a Dragon, but it's like, but I already played Like a Dragon for 2 months. I'm not going to drop it after 2 months. I'm going to play it and finish at the end, and then Final Fantasy VII comes out, and it performs just like a Dragon. Well, why don't you play Final Fantasy VII Like a Dragon? Well, because I like Like a Dragon more than Final Fantasy VII, so I want to play Like a Dragon and finish Like a Dragon because I'm 2 months into it. Okay, so now go back and replay that on half speed, and you'll get my answer. Because I didn't want to sit here for 25 minutes repeating myself. I'm not offended. It's just I've answered these questions a zillion times already, and then people keep re-asking them. So enjoy your answer, your Micro Machines motor mouth answer. Okay. Yes, at one point, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was my most hyped game of the year. Then I started playing it, and no one really cared. Kind of kills the hype, don't you think? Don't you think? The same thing would have happened if we were in opposite order. Let me make this clear. If Final Fantasy VII had come out at the end of January, and Like a Dragon had come out last month, and I played it in that order, I would have finished Final Fantasy VII regardless of support, and Like a Dragon would have gone on hold. It's just, they're interchangeable at this point. It's just the order that they came out. That's the only difference between the two. BB Phil says, can we make a compromise regarding Phil's feast? Can you announce the meal at 1 p.m. but order at 4 p.m.? There's no how BB Phil, to make this clear, where I'm probably going to order from a place that's local. I'm not going to order from like a big chain. I'm not ordering a sack of Big Macs from McDonald's. I'm not going to get a disgusting pizza from like Domino's. It's probably going to be like a local restaurant. There's no way you're going to be able to get the same food as me. What I can tell you the time I'm eating. So if you just want to eat the same time I do, but there's no way you're going to be able to replicate the food I'm getting. It's local cuisine from places out here in Seattle, you see? So, I think you misunderstood. You thought I was going to, like, order a bunch of, tacos from Taco Bell or something. No, I'm not doing that. It's going to be a good restaurant. Happy Friday to you, Daniel. Haley says, oh my God. I have to repeat this again. Listen, why are you making a compromise for Like a Dragon but not Final Fantasy VII? Because Like a Dragon came out first and I invested more time in it. I just answered the fucking question. Could you please, if you're going to be on a chat and you're going to be like watching a stream, before you ask a question, could you make sure that you don't have anything lodged in your ears so you can hear when I speak? Because I've already answered your question. It's just a matter of semantics here at this point. It's just a matter of timing. Like a Dragon came out first. I was invested over a month into the game. And then Final Fantasy VII came out. I'm going to finish the game I'm more into. Right? If it was flipped and Final Fantasy VII had come out first at the end of January, I would have continued to play that game. And then Like a Dragon would have been on hold in the same situation Final Fantasy VII's in right now and would have come back at a later date. Like I said, I'm fairly certain I will come back to Final Fantasy VII later this year. It'll end up probably being a late night chill stream that will play over time. And it's probably going to be heavily story focused, not doing much side content. Because the side content, people were saying they were bored of it. So I don't see the reason to continue it, especially if it's not necessary for the game. Jade says he's going to go soon. All right, Jade. Well, enjoy the movie. Let us know later if it's good or not. I hope it's good. Because the first one was good. Happy Good Friday, Kevin. Why didn't I play Helldivers 2 but I played Battlefront Collection? Because Helldivers 2 is an online co-op game meant for co-op with a party. Okay? Battlefront is not. Battlefront is a competitive, team-based shooter you can drop in and out easily. You don't actually need to have like verbal cooperation or anything or coordination with your party. You do in Helldivers. That's the whole point of the game. Haley says, your answer was cut off by a commercial. Why did you curse at me? Because you could have hit rewind on the live stream and listened to the answer already. It's the most stupid thing I've ever heard. The streams on YouTube, you can rewind them to hear answers. A commercial doesn't make any difference. You're full of it. Nice try, though. That's a really nice attempt to recover there. It didn't work, though. Lucky Gremlin, I swear, like, again, you're not listening. People just don't listen to me. I literally just explained, did I not, that Helldivers 2 versus Battlefront, two completely different styles of game. One is a cooperative game where you need to team up with humans and communicate versus enemies that are computer controlled. That's the point of the game. PvE, team co-op. Right? Communication is key. Co-op is key. Battlefront is a drop-in, drop-out, team-based, online, competitive game against other humans. You don't have to communicate. That's not the point. It's just shoot things. Right? It's like playing Call of Duty versus playing Apex Legends. Do you understand? Call of Duty, you could just drop in, drop out, play it with randoms. It's still fun. Apex Legends, you need to really have coordination with a team if you're going to have fun and succeed. That's how Helldivers 2 was conceived and designed. You understand? Why would I play the game without the things it's designed for and then expect that it's going to be a pleasant surprise, or not pleasant surprise, a pleasant time? I'd be setting myself up for disaster. Like, I'd be an idiot, correct? And in addition, I've already explained enough times with online co-op games, as opposed to drop in, drop out like Call of Duty or Battlefront or whatever, with these online co-op games, the focus is to be interactive with your team, talking with your team, having a common goal, cooperation, working together to succeed. And if you're doing that, you're not paying attention to the chat. I've done it before. I've played Destiny and Destiny 2. I've played Apex Legends. When I do co-op games like that online, people hate it because they say to me, Phil, you're not paying attention to us. You're not talking with us. You're not hanging out with us. This sucks. That's what we come to stream for. Well, you wanted me to play a co-op game, so I'm playing it. I got to play the game. I can't ignore the people there to be interacting with you. You know what I mean? I don't know what else to say. I can't fix that. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. I've tried the co-op games. They don't work. Just because one of the biggest games right now on the planet is a co-op game doesn't mean I immediately am going to be able to make it work for my content or my streams. It's just, I've tried them before. They don't work, right? The one thing I will say is, here's the one thing I'm happy about. Because I want you to understand, guys, that even though a lot of the things I say, no, 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 I want you to understand that I appreciate the fact that you want me to play all this stuff. People want me to play Final Fantasy VII. They want me to play Helldivers 2. They want me to play. That is so much better. It's much better to be in demand, right, than to not. I'm so appreciative of that. Even though I get frustrated when you guys want me to play 20 different games at once and I can't do it, at least the demand is there to see me play the games. You want to see me do this stuff, and I appreciate that so much, because the opposite is worse. It's way worse to be forgotten, that no one cares. Instead, it's the opposite. You want to see me do all this stuff, and that's very appreciated, okay? Excuse me. Oh, I know. See, Justice Lawman says, we're tired of RPGs. We want other games. Exactly right. I know that. That's why I'm giving you big variety. That's why I'm doing Alone in the Dark. That's why I want to try Battlefront again. That's why I want to bring back Elden Ring. And that's why I want to do a co-op with my wife that's not an RPG. That's exactly why I'm trying to do all this different variety right now. BB Phil says, I saw an Evo match with you versus Seth Killian. The people cheered for you on stage, even in your toxic phase. That was nice to see. Again, I need to emphasize something. The toxicity in the fighting game community was only online. It was never in person. I was never a dick in person. I was always a nice guy in person. So people who actually played me in tournaments respected me. It was only the people who sat there online that knew the toxic side of me, because it was supposed to be an online persona to build up hype for tournaments and the like, okay? And on the East Coast, people who knew me, like in Connecticut, in New York, in New Jersey, that area, that region of the East Coast where I live, everyone liked me. It was only outside of that people didn't like me. But everyone who met me in real life and had, played against me and, went to a tournament that I ran actually really liked me. That's why I had people cheering. That was my people. That was my group from my region where they're cheering me on. It was never like, everyone hates Phil completely. That was never the case. I always did have backing. It's just, in a lot of cases, I would be the only one from my region to go to a tournament. Like at the Evo, where I actually got 4th place in the Nationals, I was the only person from Connecticut in the entire event. No one else went. It was just me representing our entire state. So no one's going to cheer for you when you're the only one there. It was very different back then. All right, this podcast has gone ultra late, man. We have to end it. Man, I didn't even realize we went so long. All right, guys, holy moly, we got to wrap this up so I can get into the end of Like a Dragon here, man. And don't worry, 3 hours will be more than enough to finish this. But all right, everyone, thank you for a great podcast. Thank you for the early support. Thanks for the questions. Number one thing we got to figure out is the order of games tomorrow. Is it going to be Dragon's Dogma 2 and Alone in the Dark, or Alone in the Dark and Dragon's Dogma? Number two, we got to solidify the stuff we're doing for my birthday in a little over a week. I want to have that kind of locked in so we know what we're doing and what, that we can plan around. Everyone will be excited for it. All right. So thank you guys so much. And I appreciate you all for tuning in. Thank you for a great show. Tomorrow, I'm sure I'll be giving my thoughts on RPG Overload Conclusion, how both games ended and what I thought about each one. And, moving forward positively. Any gaming news, anything going on. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Great show. I will see you tomorrow.